What is up, people? Rebel Reviews here with another video for you guys. Today I'm doing a review on the Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2. I was going to make a video last night, but I was way too tired after watching it through a second time and taking notes. I was too tired and I wanted to give you guys a good, coherent review. So, Season 2, Episode 2. I really like how it started, but, and I know this isn't, I just know a lot of people were disappointed with the episode yesterday, and I mean, a lot of people loved it too. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I I knew it wasn't gonna be, I knew they weren't picking up with Boba right away. They just, they can't do that. They can't give that story plot line out in the first two episodes. I kind of guessed he would kind of loom over the season, probably mid-season. If anything, he'll show up again, or most likely at the end of the season he'll show up. I really, that's what I was nervous about, is people, once they show that armor, once they show him, that's all they're really concerned about, is what's going on with Boba Fett. And I feel like that's why people were disappointed, was because we started off with such a big bang in the first episode, and now it was kind of like take a step back. Mando and the child doing their own thing like usual, but the first episode set it up to seem like it was gonna be just new characters and crazy stuff happening the whole time. I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't think they were even going to show Boba in the first episode, but they did, and I think it did good to bring people in. But now the second episode was like, it just kind of lost people on like, whoa, why is he not doing why is he not finding this armor, who owns it, whatever? Why is Boba not following him? Stuff like that. And I knew they were going to do this because they need to drag it out. They're not going to have Boba Fett in the first two episodes, then Ahsoka, Sabine, like there's too many characters, and it would take away from Mando. I really just think it would take away from Mando, and they don't need to do that right now. They need to focus on him and his mission and figure out where the child's people are. And so I really liked the episode. I think some people were saying, oh, it was just a filler. I don't think it was a filler. I think it set up really nicely for the third episode, because now we know that gecko or frog lady, she knows her husband has seen Mandalorians on this planet that they're heading to. And it was just a nice little detour on the mission. Like, they crash land. I enjoyed the video, or I enjoyed the episode. It had more Easter eggs, I think, than people realize. I I don't know, it's not the biggest review episode, like it's not gonna have a crazy review, but I think it was a good episode for episode 2. It started off Episode 1 started off with a huge bang, got everyone excited, and now we're just kind of riding along with Mando on his journey. And sometimes, the journey is boring. Not saying that the episode was boring at all, but you know what I'm saying. So first off, I really loved how it started. He's driving in the desert after killing the crate dragon, and he's on that speeder that he left on in the first episode. And he's driving and driving, and then there's these they seem like bounty hunters because they're specifically going for the child, I think. So there's some bounty hunters that are they could just be regular, like, bad guys or whatever, but I think they were just random bounty hunters that wanted the child, or yeah. So they kind of set up a like rope and pull it so that he crashes. So he runs into this rope that they pulled, and it crashes the bike, and Baby Yoda goes flying, everything goes flying. And so he gets in a fight, he starts fighting these guys, and there's three of them, and as he's fighting the two, he pulls the guy's gun, knocks the two out, and then the little bounty hunter, he is holding Baby Yoda with his knife to his head. So Mando, and this episode really shows Mando's like paternal side to everything. Like he really cares about the child. Like he feels like it's his duty to care for it and make sure he's safe. And I mean, obviously it shows two different sides to Mando, which I'll get to in a little bit. So he is threatening to kill the child, and Mando is like, no, if you kill him, there's nowhere you can hide from me, okay? So if you kill him, you're dead anyway. So he's like, you can have anything in this wreck, because he just wrecked the speeder bike. He's like, you can have anything you want in this wreck, and just don't harm the child. Just give him back. So the bounty hunter's kind of looking around, and then he looks at Boba Fett's helmet on the ground. He doesn't want that. He wants Mando's jetpack. So Mando hands over his jetpack for Baby Yoda, which I thought was crazy because, I mean, I already knew that Mando was like, once the guy gets what he wants, I'm going to kill him anyway. But it was just kind of cool to see that, like, Mando would give up his armor per se for the child. That's how much he cares for this child already. And I just thought that was cool to show, his different side, his like caring side more than like a cold-hearted bounty hunter. But so he gives the jetpack over, he gets the kid back, and the guy runs off with the jetpack. And then Mando, he goes on his little wrist gauntlet and fires up the jetpack, and the jetpack flies up, and the guy can't hold on, obviously, so he drops, and then he dies. And the jetpack, this was like the coolest part, the jetpack flies back to Mando and like kind of like lands on its own. It was so cool. It's like the jetpack's like its own like little like thing. Like the jetpack was just like flying around, and kind of was like, it had a mind of its own almost. And so then he packs everything up, and he's using like part of the speeder bike to kind of like hoist the stuff on his shoulders, and he's walking through the desert, which is, I mean, we just seen in episode 1, Cobb Vanth barely survived in the desert walking. So he's walking through the desert, and he finally gets to Mos Espa, I think is where the lady that he has his ship in, that's where she is. And he goes into a bar, and cantina, sorry. And so he goes in the cantina, and she's like playing sabacc with Dr. Mandible, which is like basically looks like a giant like ant or like a giant praying mantis, which is a cool little Easter egg, I think, because it's one of the old aliens from the OT. So I thought that was cool. And so then he's like, well, he wasn't your intel was wrong, he wasn't a Mandalorian, like, what do I do now? And then the dude, Dr. Mandible, the praying mantis looking dude, he is like, he tells the chick, he's like, I know where Mando is, or what, I know someone who knows where Mandos are. And apparently there's a Mandalorian culvert, which is like what the little like group he was in on Navarro, and it's not that far from him. It's in this it's in the sector. So, but the catch is he has to give passage to this like he has to taxi basically this like gecko looking frog person lady, and like has the head of a gecko and like the body of a frog, I think, in my mind. So he has to taxi her to this planet where they are, and where the Mandos are, and she's got with her a bunch of her eggs, and it's like the last of her family line. She can't let the eggs die. They can't go into hyperspace because the eggs will die. Like, super important. Basically, like the last. It's like if you like had the last piece of DNA to your family or something like that, and you had to travel far with it. So, and you couldn't use hyperspace, so you couldn't jump into hyperspace because the eggs would die. And so he has to travel sublight or whatever they called it, and apparently it's super dangerous because there's like pirates and raiders and all that type of stuff out there that'll get your ship and try to steal it. And so he's like, fine, I'll after like not wanting to do it a little bit, he was like, fine, I guess, I need to find Mandalorians. So he does it, and they're on this ship, and they head off, and they're going, they're flying, and they can't use light speed, so it's gonna take a while. And all of a sudden, he like goes to sleep or something like that, and Baby Yoda, he goes and he's like attracted to the eggs that she has and like tries to eat them and stuff. And there's a bunch of gags on him eating the eggs in the like bunch of jokes on him eating the eggs in the episode, and it's pretty funny. So they're flying, and then all of a sudden they get basically pulled over by the New Republic in X-Wings, which one of the X-Wing pilots was Dave Filoni, which is awesome. And the X-Wing pilots are like, we need your clearance code, blah, blah, blah. We need, your transponder. And he's like, well, my transponder is not working. And my ship's dates pre-Empire, stuff like that. They're talking about stuff. And then they're like, well, they're kind of giving a rough time, like kind of being like douchey cops to him. So they like talk to the X-Wing pilots, like kind of talk to themselves for a little bit, and they're like, well, we're gonna, we gotta shoot him down because he's not cooperating. Not shoot him down, but like try to make him to like pull over basically, or land, so they can talk to him and figure out what's going on. So they like go behind him, and he just dips. He like dips off into this planet, and he's trying to outrun them. They start chasing him, and he like does some like weird like air maneuvers, kind of reminiscent of like the Force Awakens with the Millennium Falcon, where it just drops out of nowhere, and then he like hits the thrusters at the last minute and does like a drift and all crazy stuff, and he ends up like hiding from them in this cave. But then right when he like they think they're safe and they got away from these X-Wing pilots, the ground like cracks and breaks because the planet they landed on is like all ice, and this is the planet people thought was Ilum and all that, which is, I mean, it's kind of, that's why I feel like people were disappointed, was because like, oh, it's just some other, snow planet. But like, we never know. They could always come back to that planet, like, and say it's something. So we don't know yet, really. And so they fall in the cave, and they're like, the Razor Crest is trashed, like totally trashed. And he's like fixing it up, and a little montage of him fixing it, I think, and he's like doing some stuff and yells at Baby Yoda, and he's like, well, might as well work, and it's kind of funny because he's just a little baby. He doesn't probably even know what to do. Well, he probably does because I think he's smarter than he lets off. But, and he keeps trying to eat these eggs, and he's like, Mando's like, no, you can't eat the eggs, dude. Like, you can't eat them. So, and then Baby Yoda comes out as he's working on the ship and tells Mando, he's like, hey, the lady is gone. And like she walked off, and he follows her footsteps in the snow, and she went over around in this other cave to like this natural spring of like hot water. So she's like bathing in the water with her eggs. It's really like weird, but who knows what other aliens do. So she's like bathing in this hot water with like her eggs, and Baby Yoda tries to eat one. Mando's like, no. And so he goes off, and Baby Yoda wanders off and looks for other eggs, or not other eggs, but he sees like these other little, like, they kind of look like mushrooms, which I'll get to as part of the concept art for this creature. It looks like mushrooms, but they I think they're eggs. And he reaches in and he grabs one, and it's a spider inside, and he eats it. And we seen in the trailer there was a big spider and a little spider on top of the Razor Crest. So I'm like, oh, this is where the spiders are. And so once he eats that spider, it wakes up all the spiders, and there's probably like 100,000 spiders in this cave, all over the place. And it wakes up the big one in like a way back deep cave, wakes up the big spider, and he wakes up the big spider, and they start getting chased, and they pick up all the eggs quick, and they're running. And as they're running, the gecko frog lady starts like jumping like a frog all over the place. It's super weird, but awesome at the same time. And so they like kind of they're running from the spider, and so they're running from, sorry, I'm just reading my notes that I took. They're running from the spider, and they get in the Razor Crest, and there's spiders just pouring in, and he barely, like, he doesn't, like, they're overwhelming, like, it's an overwhelming amount of spiders. And they get to the cockpit and like barely closing the doors, and the spiders like trying to eat Baby Yoda, and like they're on his head, and he's like freaking out. And the lady actually pulls a blaster and starts helping and blasts some off Baby Yoda. And then he like flame throws the middle part of the, like, where the door's trying to close, to like kill all of them. And he does it. He closes the door, and they're trying to take off. And oh yeah, and he kind of blew up the big one at first when they were running. He threw some like bombs, and it kind of, like, with the crate dragon, kind of looked to be dead, but then obviously it's not. So they're trying to take off, and they're lifting up off the ground, and all of a sudden, boom, the big spider drops on top of them, and it starts like busting in the windows. It like starts sucking on the glass with its big old teeth. And then all of a sudden it's like about to destroy the Razor Crest with Mando and Baby Yoda and this lady inside. And all of a sudden, bunch of blaster bolts start coming, like like crazy amounts of blaster fire. And it subsides after it's dead, and they kill all of them, and all the spiders, and all these random blaster bolts just kill all these spiders. And Mando walks out, and there's a light like blinding him. He can't even see who it is, and it's freaking Dave Filoni and this other dude that, I mean, he's probably famous too. I just don't know who it was. Dave Filoni and this other dude that are the X-wing pilots, and they just destroyed all these spiders. And I think it's kind of funny because they like kind of established the X-wing pilots and rebel fighters as like kind of badass too. Like they're like, hey, we blew up 2 Death Stars for a reason. We're pretty badass. So he, they're kind of like, you have an arrest warrant out, and for breaking out that purple Twi'lek in episode 6, I believe. And but they're like, but you also have, bounties that you've turned in, and you risked your own life to save the dude Matt Lanter that got the voice of Anakin that got shot in episode 6, the New Republic like guard kind of in that room where he gets knifed by that one Twi'lek chick. And so they're like, you're a good dude, you just have this arrest warrant. And they're kind of like, it's trying times right now, which is funny because that's what Warner Herzog said in episode 7. I'm not too sure, but he said it. So it's kind of like the parallel between like the New Republic and the Empire. Like they're kind of like, I wouldn't say the same thing, but like they're not ideal, So um so they let him go, and he's like, "Can you help us? Can you help me?" And the X-wing pilots are like, "No, get your crap fixed, or next time we're blowing you, out of the sky." And which again establishes them as like they're kind of badass. So then he that's basically the end of the episode. He repairs the ship, and they kind of drift away. They fly off and they kind of drift away into space, kind of on their course, but drifting along because the Razor Crest is like they can't even sit. The whole like hatch is open. There's a big like gouge in the side of it. Like it's like just drifting, barely making it. So that's where it lets off and cuts to black, and it's just kind of leaves Mando like, I feel like the first episode made it where it's like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He's a badass. No one can stop him. He's just a badass. But this one, I feel like kind of left him vulnerable, and left him open to, he's not this badass dude. Yeah, he took down the crate dragon, but when the spiders like were overwhelming, he couldn't do it. He was about to die. And I think that's where the parallel is nice. Like, he's this badass dude, but he's also really, really vulnerable. And same with Baby Yoda. And another parallel was this frog lady and her eggs, and Mando and Baby Yoda. So it kind of it's like a motherly role that he's like paternal to Baby Yoda as she's paternal to these eggs. He's his dad. I think like they're setting up like, I think he's never gonna find his kind, and he's like, it's like you were with your kind the whole time, because they're gonna end up being family. I think not like biologically, but like like kind of how he's a foundling and he was adopted. Like he's gonna adopt Baby Yoda. So I think that's really cool, and I think that, yeah, don't get so caught up in these other, don't expect a Boba Fett or a Sabine Wren or a Ahsoka every episode. We gotta keep it Mando. Like he's the name of the show. You're not gonna focus on all these other characters. Like we gotta just focus on Mando. And I thought it was a great episode doing that. And there was a lot to take from the episode. Like the next episode should pick up with them drifting into this planet, and then finding other Mandalorians. So that's pretty much what I got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.